Stanley Kubrick is universally recognized as one of the greatest filmmakers ever. While many movie fans know him for classics like 2001: A Space Odyssey, The Shining, Full Metal Jacket, A Clockwork Orange, and Dr. Strangelove, one of his first and lesser-known films continues to influence other filmmakers. So if you only know Kubrick because of Hal, Gunny Hartman, and Jack Torrance, stick around because I'm going to tell you how Kubrick's 1956 heist thriller, The Killing, influenced 5 other filmmakers and changed the movies you love. Now, when Quentin Tarantino burst onto the scene with Reservoir Dogs in 1992, one of the more notable aspects of his movie was that he told the story in a nonlinear format, meaning he would show key incidents in the film out of chronological order. He continued this style of storytelling in later films like Pulp Fiction and Jackie Brown, and even added in a new layer of complexity by sometimes showing the same scene multiple times so the audience could experience it from the perspective of different characters. In Jackie Brown, for example, we see the scene where Jackie hands off the cash in the department store dressing room 3 times. First, from Jackie's perspective. Then we see it from Louis and Melanie's perspective. And finally, we see it from Max's point of view. Now, it's easy to see how innovative this style of storytelling is compared to the 99.9% of movies that use a traditional linear format. And as Tarantino has pointed out, that innovation was inspired in large part by The Killing. Kubrick designed the entire production around telling the story in a non-linear format. To see how that played out, let's take a look at the scene where Maurice needs to create a distraction, so he starts a fight at the racetrack bar. The first time we see the scene, it's from Maurice's perspective. We see him start the fight. We see the security guards come running. Then we see the security team dragging him away. About 10 minutes later, we see the same scene again, but this time the action follows George and Johnny, as George uses the distraction to leave the betting windows and unlocks the door so Johnny can head up to rob the cash counting room. Now, in 1956, this type of storytelling was almost unheard of, and during the editing process, Kubrick and his team were concerned that audiences wouldn't understand it. Kubrick even toyed with the idea of recutting the film into a more traditional linear format, but the results were even more confusing, so he went back to his original idea. And thanks to The Killing, today's directors like Quentin Tarantino have much freer reign to tell non-linear stories. When Johnny heads up the stairs towards the cash room, he makes a detour into the employees' locker room. He goes there first because earlier in the day, Mike, another member of the team, hid a gun and a mask in a box of flowers that he stored in his locker. Johnny opens Mike's locker, he removes and assembles the gun, then he puts on the mask before heading in to rob the cash room. Now, this may not seem like a particularly influential moment, but in researching the scene, I've not been able to find an earlier example of a film using the now famous trope of a criminal hiding a rifle or shotgun in a box of flowers. The Killing looks like it may be the first time this idea ever made it on film. Now, since then, the trope of a gun in a box of flowers has appeared in Francis Ford Coppola's The Godfather. It's in Sidney Lumet's Dog Day Afternoon. You can see it in James Cameron's Terminator 2 Judgment Day. And in countless other movies and TV shows. But it all started with The Killing. Now, with the gun assembled and the mask in place, Johnny then forces his way into the cash counting room. I'm going to freeze the movie right here and ask if the mask he's using looks familiar. Well, if you're a fan of Christopher Nolan's Batman films, it should be familiar to you. In Nolan's second installment in the series, The Dark Knight, he wanted to develop more of a film noir feel. And in an homage to The Killing, he started the movie with an intricately planned bank robbery where all the criminals wear masks like the one Johnny wears in The Killing. All right, not technically a movie, but The Killing did make an impact on one of the most famous album covers in history. On March 30th, 1967, the Beatles posed for a photo shoot for the cover art for their upcoming album, Sgt Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Now, the concept was to have the Beatles standing in front of a collage of cardboard cutouts and wax figures. Now, mixed in there with Laurel and Hardy, Marlene Dietrich, Sonny Liston, Edgar Allan Poe, and Marilyn Monroe is an image of Timothy Carey, who played Nicky Arcane in The Killing. Unfortunately, in the final shot, George Harrison is standing directly in front of the cutout of Nicky, but other photos from the same photo shoot show that his cutout was there. Before I wrap up, I do have one final piece of trivia about The Killing I have to share. Now, when you do watch it, or if you watch it again, be sure to pay attention to the scenes set at the racetrack bar. Specifically, keep an eye out for the man in the light suit at the end of the bar, and once the fight starts, you'll see him standing to the left of the door. That uncredited extra is comedian Rodney Dangerfield, about 24 years before his breakout movie role in 1980's Caddyshack.
Hey, Doc, could you scare up another round for our table over here and tell the cook this is low-grade dog food, all right? And here, take this for yourself, okay? Shit, I had better food at the ball game, you know? I tell you, this steak still has marks where the jockey was hitting.
And with that, thanks again for watching, and I hope to see you all again here on A Million Movies.